Welcome back. Episode 4 of Griddyiron Gang. What we got for you today is a quarterback ranking episode. But before we get to that, we're going to touch on some recent news that's been going on around the NFL. As of late, a lot's been going on since we last met. Some of the most recent news, though, Chris Carson has announced his retirement due to a neck injury.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, man. What are your thoughts on that? Sad news for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough break for him. I mean, very solid running back. Had all the potential in the world if he kept going. Obviously, he showed that in the 5 years with Seattle. Like I said, that highlight reel they posted on Instagram or all over had the Vikings up front, center. Being the team, he was truck sticking up the middle for a touchdown. But, I mean, it's a tough break, dude. I really like Chris Carson a lot. Had him on my fantasy team 1 year. Anytime you see a guy go down with injury like that you just can't recover from, it just shows you how brutal the sport can be. Mm-hmm. And, I think what I heard was that they released him, which gave him, like, injury protection money or something like that.
Okay.
So, at least they're looking out for him and his best interest in that way. It's just a tough break. I don't know what else to say, really. It's just, you feel for a guy like that who was battling injuries the way it was all 5 years. But when he was on the field, I mean, he was a force. Like, he was bringing the hit stick. So, I don't know. It's a tough situation. I feel bad for him, much respect to him for the career he put up in 5 years. I think he had a lot more to give the game.
No doubt.
But it's, at the end of the day, in this tough business, people are just going to move on and then you're forgotten. So hopefully in the future we'll still be talking about him, looking back on his highlights, But I mean, what can you say? It's a tough break. It's a sad situation. But I hope he heals up and recovers so he's, that neck, I mean, a neck injury is no joke. I wouldn't want to deal with that pain waking up every single day knowing if I can turn my head left or right.
Definitely not, I know.
So I feel for him and, I wish him the best, whatever he chooses to do on his next endeavor. But, yeah, it's a tough situation.
I echo everything you said. He was definitely a solid back. Tough situation. It's sad to see a guy go out like that. I'm not sure if he was at camp or not, but it sounded like he was able to walk away on his own terms, even though, given the circumstances, you could argue that.
Yeah, I think they said that he came in and failed his physical or something like that.
Oh, so okay.
He kind of knew what was going on. I'm sure he had it in the back of his mind the whole time, like going into it, that he just wasn't gonna be the same. And so, I mean, kudos to him for not trying to play through that, and making it worse.
Mm-hmm. In other news, Julio Jones, one of the best receivers in history, has signed with arguably the best player in history. No argument, the best quarterback in history, Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Adding to the weapons, Mike Evans, Godwin, Gage, Rudolph. I mean, if Fournette gets his weight down, he's going to be a load. What do you think about this addition to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense?
I mean, the Bucs they're just the kings right now, signing these players to 1 year deals who are at the end of their careers,
Hall of Famers, too.
Yeah, and I think, like I read today earlier regarding Rudy and Julio signing, you can't beat them, join them. I think they both have lost to Brady their whole career. They're both like 0-4, 0-5 or something like that. And Julio obviously losing that terrible Super Bowl.
Don't bring it up.
28-3. I mean, so you can't beat them, join them. I think, and like I was listening to on Good Morning Football today, I think it was Kyle Brandt who said something along the lines of, we don't need you healthy all year. We just need you healthy for 2 crucial catches in the playoffs. And I couldn't agree with that more because that's what they're bringing them there for. Like, they need help down the stretch. You see what injuries did to them last year. If they're not injured, I think they probably beat the Rams in the NFC Championship.
Yep.
Because I feel like Brady and Godwin got something that's special. That connection is just lethal. And obviously you got Mike Evans on the outside who just goes up and gets it. But I think you put both those guys on the outside with Godwin in the slot, and then you got Rudy, who's still capable as a tight end. Not fast by any means, doesn't got moves after the catch, but I mean, he finds a way to get open, and he's one of the best red zone threats, throughout his career. So it's going to be, and like you said with Fournette, like get that weight down in training camp. If you can produce like you did last year, it's just, I mean, that team is...
With all those weapons we just mentioned, that red zone offense is going to be unstoppable.
And, and Brady is at the point in his career, he's not going to, huck it and chuck it down the field anymore. But he's one of the most accurate passers, smart with the ball, doesn't turn it over.
Mm-hmm.
You give him those pieces, man, I think this is probably one of the most lethal teams he's been on in his whole career. And
big guys, big catch radiuses.
I mean,
great after the catch.
And they were comparing, it was funny because today on NFL Network they were comparing Moss's 06 stats with the Raiders, which was like 43 catches, 500-something yards, 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
The next year, 07, he gets traded to the Patriots. However many catches, 1,500-something yards, and he
23
touchdowns, I think it was. Like, you think about that, like, Julio stays healthy, he still has that type of, like, stuff in him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not putting it past him to do something crazy this year. And that's what scares me because, I mean, Julio's top 3, top 5 all-time freak of nature at that position. And you give him Tom Brady. Tom Brady makes the weakest receivers look like the strongest.
He damn near put Edelman and Welker in the Hall of Fame.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's Amendola even. I mean,
Danny too.
Like, you see, I mean, give him a Jordy Nelson, give him a Adam Thielen, or, he makes these white boys look good.
I know, man. You might have missed your opportunity on that one. Oh, man. Moving on. Some of the latest speculation has been that Deshaun Watson will miss 6 games this season. And, if that is the case, what do you think about his situation, the Cleveland Browns situation, what their season's going to look like, so on and so forth?
I think, I want to go back. I don't remember what I gave them as a record prediction. I think I went with it as they had him.
I think you said 7-10.
Yeah, without him the whole year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get him 6 games into the season, I think you're a 500 or a little better. Because that dude's a game changer. I mean, he's a freak at that quarterback position. Obviously we have to see, like, with all that time off, how you come out and what you still look like. Are you rusty? Are you connecting with your teammates now? Or, like, how long is that? And I'm interested to see, is he still able to practice those 6 weeks with his team?
I think I've seen some clips of him practicing.
And he is practicing right now, but when he gets to the season, do they take him out of the picture?
See, I don't think last year he could be in the facility the same time as the players.
Yeah.
This year, I'm not sure.
Because how do you go about, if he's able to practice, how do you go about that? You still give him first team reps, or do you get the other guys ready to go?
You probably split them half and half.
Yeah. So, like I said, 500 a little better, but, I don't know how to feel about the situation. Like, I have it in my head where there's so many situations these days where women are trying to get that bread from these multimillionaire athletes and trying to catch them in a position, and they're just lying on their name.
Mm-hmm.
But in this scenario, there's so many women saying this stuff. I kind of want to lean towards what they're saying.
You kind of have to.
And that's, and so... to me, if it is true, all of it's true, like, 6 games is too little.
Even given that he missed last season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, because if you're gonna give Ridley all that suspension for gambling, and you're gonna give him 6 games for these accusations, that's completely backwards.
It is.
Like, that's what I'm saying about Goodell. I don't have respect for the guy because he's a money-hungry, power-hungry man where he doesn't even know how to control or run the league the right way. And so this Deshaun situation is so messed up. Like, and I want, if it's untrue, I want to see him succeed. But I can't support the guy if this is true. And, I couldn't imagine being a Browns fan at this time.
It's got to be really tough to be a Browns fan for sure. On to another player, another quarterback. Kyler Murray got his extension. Potentially 230 guaranteed, 105 guaranteed at the time of signing. What do you think about this, man? There's some recent news that came out about him. Not the best studier, maybe not the best leader.
I think ultimately, it's almost a bad PR move on the Cardinals organization leaking that information. And Kyler's pissed about it. His agent's pissed about it.
You have to be.
Because I think that's the way the Cardinals having the last say over him, saying, hey, we control you. Like, you don't control us or what we do. Like, we didn't have to give you that money, but we did, and this is why we put that in there. Because you've shown that you don't take it serious right now. And it's shown in games, late in the season. They start off hot, and then they just crumble. And I think that's the fact of him actually not studying game film, studying his opponent, and he looks like a little toddler out there scrambling around. Like, I hate watching the dude run, and I think he was paid too much money. Like, I think he's a great athlete, could be a very special quarterback, but number one, I'm not a fan of guys who can't see over the line, and number two, I just don't think he's shown that leadership at all. For me, yeah, you got guys in the locker room who will ride for him, who like him a lot, but at the end of the day, do you trust that guy in crunch time when it's time to win the game? I don't trust him against the Rams. I don't trust him against 49ers. Like, it's just he and the persona he projects, and like just he thinks he's better than what he is, in my opinion. He has this bravado about him that is just like very irritating, because it's like, what have you done in this league to warrant all this money? Have you won an MVP? You weren't on MVP pace, but have you won?
He would tell you he was Offensive Rookie of the Year. He would tell you he was a two-time.
But see, Offensive Rookie of the Year is one thing, because you only have a select few guys that you're going up against to win that award all year.
3 or 4,
like
probably.
MVP is the whole league, every position.
Mm-hmm.
So until you do,
I agree. He's not even in my top 10, and we'll get to it later. And I don't think a lot of these guys are deserving the kind of money they're getting at all.
No, I agree. I think the quarterback position as a whole is becoming just blasphemous. Like, I get it. Like, why it's like inflating big time. Like, that's the number one important position in the league. Like,
it's bringing in all the money.
And the quarterback sells the team. That's the face of the franchise. But I've always said I don't think Kirk Cousins is worth the money he's getting.
He's gonna get to $50 million soon.
Like, it's and then for the Browns, back to Deshaun real quick, is for the Browns to pay him that kind of money and that kind of contract, guaranteed money. That just proves to show you like how stupid that organization has historically been. Because in this situation, he didn't deserve anywhere near that contract.
No.
And so we're gonna glorify these guys in this position like that. That gives them that sense of comfortability where they can go out and do whatever they feel like.
Yeah, and not only that, they gave him no money this year because they figured.
And if the stuff is true about Deshaun, it's only feeding his fire and his mindset of, hey, I got away with it, I can do it again.
I would argue that, but if he's accused of doing it that many times, it might be something that's wrong with him. Yeah, it might be something he has to go see somebody about. Because that's a crazy amount.
And he's young enough where, he can clean his life up and turn the situation around, become a better man.
Yeah.
But until that day comes, until the situation is totally cleared up, we get all the facts, we get how it turns out. I don't know, but Kyler, like I said, I'm just not a big fan of Kyler, and like I could say this about many quarterbacks in this league. I think outside of the top 5, you have a very good reason to argue why you feel the way you do about the rest of these quarterbacks.
We'll get to that later. Actually, we'll get to it right now because Lamar is also in contract disputes after Kyler Murray was. He actually got his deal, scrubbed his Instagram. Maybe that's what Lamar needs to do, but Lamar has no agent. It's him and his mom trying to get that deal done.
Yeah.
After Deshaun signs his deal, and Kyler Murray is now the second highest paid annually quarterback in the league, how do you feel Lamar's going to go about his contract situation?
You know, I got to give props to him and his mom for handling it themselves.
Betting on themselves this season?
I think you know, granted you're taking a huge risk because you're not hiring someone who's a professional to handle these situations. So, to me, when you've grown up a quarterback and athlete your whole life, I don't know his background in school or anything like that, but I mean, if you're not in like a law degree or whatever, I don't know if your mom's just an ordinary mom out there, you know, housewife.
You're just
Like, how do you know the contract language? Like, how do you know what to say in it, what to put in it, and what you're demanding is fair? Because you want to get paid at the end of the day, and I think it would go, if you don't have the Deshaun situation, I think would be, out of these three quarterbacks, Deshaun deserves the money, and then Lamar, and then Kyler.
I agree.
So, and I mean, Lamar, to me, he just got to get the accuracy down.
See, the thing I'll say, Lamar is my favorite quarterback. He just happens to be on my favorite team. So, he had an MVP season. We all remember that. It's something that Kyler Murray nor Deshaun Watson has. 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. In the 2 seasons after that, he's averaged, I think, 21 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, under 3,000 yards in both seasons. So I can come to the negotiation table with those 2 contracts like, okay, they got this, but I've achieved this playoff win as well. I'm not sure if Kyler or Deshaun has one of those. But I also look at my last 2 seasons, and they're going to tell me about those and who has the upper hand in that situation.
Well, then I come back with, who have you surrounded me with that I can actually trust and go get that football? Because I haven't clicked with Marquise. Bateman was a rookie. I mean, who else do you guys
Willie
got?
Snead's probably been my best target outside of Mark Andrews, obviously.
He's been injury prone, right? If I'm not
He wasn't even with the team last year. He was with Oakland or Vegas.
And so, I mean, that big year he had, who'd you guys have outside?
Keese. That was the year before Sam.
Did you have John Brown? Or am I tripping?
I don't think so.
Or was he with Buffalo?
I don't think we had John Brown and Marquise Brown. It might have been Snead, Keese.
He loves his security blanket with Mark Andrews.
He does.
And that's a very good tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes Lamar look good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that production comes from that tight end spot. He's not, I wouldn't say he's a number 1 receiver but that he plays that role very well where he could be a number 1 target.
I would have to think he has over 1,000 yards these past couple seasons, and with Lamar not even cracking 3,000, he is the number 1.
Right.
I can't imagine Keese was having 1,000 with all the balls he dropped.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, for me it's just the accuracy point that I'm coming from, because he can play playground football like no other. Like, he can run that ball. He can make plays happen. I mean, I trust him in that all day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when it comes time to drop back, be like pocket passer, read the coverages. Does he have it all there mentally?
Your boy, 6 from OU, Baker Mayfield.
Oh, that ain't my boy.
New Carolina Panthers backup quarterback. I think soon to be starting quarterback. But
oh man, Baker. I have him winning the battle right out of camp. I think
Darnold's that bad?
I think he is, and I think them trading for him last year, bringing him in, they thought he was going to save him, and they quickly realized that what he was in New York is what he is. And I don't remember the record last year, but it had to have been a little below 500, or maybe even around 500.
Maybe 4-13.
Okay,
something like
worse.
that. Something like that. Carolina?
Yeah,
they were low.
Oh yeah, they were 7th pick in the draft or something like that.
Something like that.
So I mean, I think I'm not a big Baker fan, but something's telling me that it's a fresh start in a new place for him, and he's excited, ready to go. him and Sam Darnold are playing buddy right now, but low key, it's I'm coming for your job.
This isn't the worst situation he could be in. The defense is solid.
I think you got DJ Moore, you got Christian McCaffrey,
Robbie Anderson,
who's really no slouch. Like, he just had Sam Darnold last year. Let's be real. Like,
both those guys are.
But now the thing is I think Baker's by far head and shoulders better quarterback than Sam Darnold in my opinion. It just comes down to, was last year just all those injuries piled up on Baker that made him look that way? If so,
I'm under that impression.
If so, then you better come out, and if Robbie Anderson has 700 to 1,000 yards this year, then I'll know it was a fluke last year. Because Robbie Anderson needs a bounce back season as well.
He does.
So, but granted, if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, that takes a load off whoever's under center. Because that man does it all.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's just, I think you, especially with, what's his name, Matt Rule.
I know you don't like him, though.
I don't like Matt Rule at all. I don't think he belongs in the NFL. I think he's done a great job in college, but there's coaches who, they just fit better in college.
Nick Saban.
And so, I think Matt Rule is under fire this year, with this potentially being his last year. You traded for Baker because you have to get this right this year. So you're not going to start Sam Darnold and cause a quarterback controversy. You already know Sam Darnold's a quality backup. I would like him as a backup because I would trust him for a game or two.
That's probably where he is right now.
But I'm starting Baker out the gates. We're going to try to get this thing rolling right away. Catch some fire under our ass. Stay healthy. I mean, the O-line is kind of iffy besides your rookie left tackle, who hopefully has a good year.
Mm-hmm. Very iffy.
But, you know, if things go to plan and Baker has a solid year, you're looking at 500. Maybe better.
That's a lot of respect for a guy that you don't really like.
I feel like, you know,
they do have the pieces though, and their defense is solid.
They have the pieces is there, you know, and I think Baker's that good of that. He's a good quarterback where you give him pieces. It's just kind of like Kirk Cousins. You need the pieces around you. Not saying they have all the pieces there to make a Super Bowl team, but
he had a lot of pieces in Cleveland.
He did, but if these injuries that were piled up and he was playing through is what caused him to.
That was just last year.
Right, I get that, but it's. And he didn't really tear the league up before that, obviously. It's just.
He had the rookie touchdown passing record.
I think, though, if he doesn't have all those injuries last year, because they started hot out the gates and were a solid team. They were picked by a lot of analysts to make a deep run.
Yeah. I remember.
You know, and sometimes you just get those connections, wide receiver, quarterback, like OBJ and him, that just don't click.
Mm-hmm.
Because before OBJ was there, him and Jarvis Landry were clicking pretty well. But when you add in another dynamic receiver to that room and you're thinking about it over and over again, worried about how you're going to get these targets spread around, I mean, that can eat at a quarterback as well because you don't want that drama, you don't want that conflict. And I just don't think he's that good of a quarterback where he can spread it around and make everyone happy. He likes who he likes. If he connects with you, like I predict him, like I'm not going to predict a big season from Robbie Anderson, but I can see DJ Moore and him clicking pretty well and that being a dynamic duo this year.
Okay. As long as that shoulder's healthy.
Yeah.
From one shoulder injury to another, we have Jimmy Garoppolo requesting a trade, or at least seeking a trade in the Bay Area. How do you feel about this news? It sounds like they're going to be go ahead and, you know, give him that freedom, seeking that trade, and go ahead.
Yeah.
Trey Lance is their quarterback.
You know, I think he needs to get out of there. I mean, I think they've made it clear they moved on to Trey Lance, which was expected. It's just, where do you send him? I mean, no one wants to take on that cap hit of $26 million for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Who would need him? Who's a quarterback away right now? Because he's better than a backup.
Well, the biggest, and I know I wouldn't want this, and I know you probably wouldn't want this either, but the biggest thing I've been hearing is it's possible that Mike McDaniels wants him in Miami. because
I thought you were gonna say Baltimore.
No.
If Tua can't do it, he can't do it. I mean,
and that's the only reason I'd say possibly Miami is because you link up with your old coach who's proven to work with you. It's just, I just don't think it's the right time for that. I think you need to give Tua the chance to build camaraderie with this group of guys and see what y'all can do. I mean, it's a first-year head coach, so give it a year, see how it goes. And that's what, I mean, maybe Seattle, but who wants to trade within the division like that? You know, if I'm San Francisco, I'm not really scared to let them go to Seattle because y'all are going to be bad this year anyways.
If I'm San Francisco, I'm hoping the team just looks at those numbers and say he's decent enough, knowing that I made those numbers what they are and that he's probably not that good.
I could see. I mean, I think a team. I think it's going to come down to a team's going to trade for him that might play it out like they're going to use him as a backup, but then start him 4 games into the season because they had that planned all along. Say like the New Orleans Saints. Jameis doesn't come out hot. Give him a chance to QB.
I don't like that we're thinking of the same team because I like Jameis, but when you think about it, I mean, maybe a Giants team or something like that.
That too.
But what are their what's their aspirations this year? Are you thinking about going 500 or are you trying to tank again and get rid of Daniel Jones? Who knows?
Yeah.
Off of Jimmy Garoppolo, though, we're going to get into this quarterback list. Sticking with the San Francisco 49ers, who I have at number 32 in my show me category is Trey Lance. Just hasn't played enough. Broken finger last year, even though they did try to put him in the rotation. They traded the 21 and 23 first-round picks as well as the 22nd 2022 first-round pick and second-round pick for him. So, like we talked about last topic, we knew this was coming. Trey Lance was going to be this quarterback sooner or later. How do you feel about this? I mean, in 6 games, he was only 57% completion, 5 touchdowns, so not a lot of production, but didn't see a lot of field time. Honestly, I don't know if that offense has a lot of weapons outside of Debo and Kittle as well. Although they have some speed, that speed's often hurt or injured, not able to play in the lineup. So we know Mike Shanahan's a genius, and this is his style of quarterback, a Trey Lance, maybe a Colin Kaepernick 2.0 type, although he wasn't the quarterback or the coach in that situation. But we know this is the kind of guy he wants.
Yeah, I think that Niners are going to have a down year.
I agree.
I just don't see Trey Lance. I mean, we haven't seen him enough, like you said. I don't trust him. He's coming from NDSU just like Carson Wentz. That's proven to be a train wreck so far.
Is it the NDSU or the smaller school quarterbacks?
I think it's smaller. And that's nothing against NDSU. It's just a smaller school. You're playing against teams that aren't as good. And they've shown that they probably deserve to be in an FBS school the way they played in their college career.
Did they win it again this year? North Dakota State?
I don't see who's stopping them. I mean, they got a good thing going on.
6 in a row, 7. It's crazy.
They're small Alabama, Midwestern Alabama.
They are. Shout out to them.
So, I mean, I have Lance ranked at 31.
Okay.
So, not too far off. I'm very nervous. Like I said, I got to see more. He hasn't started yet. Well, besides the couple times he gotten in, but it's mainly been for running pretty much. I don't trust him. I don't know what he's capable of. And the rumblings I've heard is Debo's not a fan.
That's what I heard as well.
So that scares me. And when you're not a fan of him over Garoppolo, that's saying something. So, I got him pretty low, 31. Not much to say. We'll see how he does this year.
Okay. That's nice. My 31, one of your favorites, Sam Darnold. He sees ghouls, ghosts, and goblins, man, out there on the field. That's not good. We just talked about him. I personally do have him starting the season just because he was there last year, but Baker's probably going to take this thing over real quick, maybe in the first month or so. 3rd overall pick really has not produced like we would like to see him. Him and Baker, obviously on the same team, but they got here a lot of different ways. I think he was drafted into a lot worse situation, even though we call the Cleveland Browns the Cleveland Clowns.
Yeah.
But you get drafted. Although I do like Todd Bowles, he is a defensive coach, and your offense, you didn't have a lot of weapons. Obviously, 3rd pick, your team's not that good. So definitely a not a lot to work with out there in New York, an organization that you could argue really isn't top notch, you know.
Yeah.
So him being in this situation, 31, he's really gonna have to show me. This is my last chance you category, so
Okay. Yeah,
that explains itself right there.
I didn't even have him ranked because I have Baker starting ahead of him.
Okay.
So I guess
That's understandable.
I'd put him, a spot or two outside the 32 since he's not starting.
But you said he's a good backup, so
He's a quality backup.
So let's talk about who are some of the quality backups. You like him better than Teddy Bridgewater?
I trust Teddy more than him.
Gardner Minshew?
He's probably my first choice out of the other two.
Who is?
Minshew.
Okay. Heineke?
Capable, but don't trust him.
Keenum?
Capable, but don't trust him.
So you're not feeling Darnold too much.
No.
Last episode I said, he's not that bad, but when I looked at it, he's that bad. Career record of 17-32 as a starter. Just hasn't got the job.
I just don't think he's got that winning factor to him.
No, he doesn't have the face, the attitude.
He kind of curls up when things get tough.
He's the only grown man I know with mono. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have much else to say about him. I just think he is what he is.
From one previous New York quarterback to a current New York quarterback at number 30, Daniel, I trip over my toes, Jones. Number 6 overall pick. Honestly, this guy's kind of low on this list. I think he's had a lot of bad luck in New York. A lot of his weapons are either ineligible to play or injured, or not playing because of injury. Ingram, Barkley, some of his receivers. The defense, I know this is a quarterback episode, but the defense traded away a lot of their best players, not giving them much help, giving up a lot of points, and having to force the ball downfield and whatnot. So I thought this team drafted well. The offensive lineman pick of Evan Neal, I think, should help a little bit, give him a little more confidence. He's athletic enough to make plays. I think he's smart enough to make plays coming from Duke.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he's going to be capable at this point, showing what he showed so far, if he has the confidence in himself to do it. 45 touchdowns, 29 interceptions out his career. 12-25 is his career record as a starter. It's not impressive, and we expect a lot more from the 6th overall pick.
For sure. I have him at 30 as well. He's the definition of last chance you.
For sure.
I think this is your last and final chance. You got a Brian Daboll coming over who's been a mastermind out in Buffalo. If you can't work with him and the pieces that they have put around you, because you got quality pieces, you can't trip over your feet during a game. 80-yard breakaway run, you can't do that. You're in the NFL, my man. Get it together. Your shoes weren't untied. I don't know what else to say. He's very smart. He shows he's smart out there.
Have you ever done that?
Maybe going to my fridge.
Oh, man. Some athletes be having.
Yeah, stub my toe, kind of.
Fall slow motion, Dave Chappelle skit style.
But no, last chance you for sure. I don't have much to say. He's got to prove it. These bottom half guys, I'm not gonna have much to say. You just gotta go out and prove it.
Got you. 29, a guy who I think will start. Not sure if he'll finish the season though. Mitchell Trubisky out in Pittsburgh. Another guy drafted. I think he was number 2 in front of Deshaun and Patrick Mahomes. So that's a tough beat for Chicago. Him going over to a second team now in Pittsburgh. Like I said, I think he'll start the season. Honestly, another guy who's not as terrible as the perception is of him. He was a one-time Pro Bowler. That was probably as a replacement. A guy with a good frame, good arm, probably not the best decision maker. Another guy where you look at in the huddle, you look at his face, you're like, Jesus, how are we going to get behind this guy? Kind of like Sam Darnold. But I think he has a chance to do something. If you're going to do anything to rejuvenate your career, you're going to do it in Pittsburgh under Mike Tomlin and those guys over there. So Mitchell Trubisky here, 29-21 as a career record, 29th on my quarterback ranking.
Yeah, I got Trubisky at number 28 actually, so one spot ahead of you. I'm trying to look something up here because I can't remember his name. Who was the coach they fired out in Chicago?
Nagy.
Matt Nagy.
Yep.
I think it's gonna be a blessing in disguise that he got out of there from out underneath him. I think Trubisky was. I mean, that first year he was solid.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he was.
Like he has the talent.
Yep.
And I think going to Buffalo and being in that system as a backup is gonna help tremendously. And then going to
he did go to Buffalo.
And then going to Mike Tomlin and that program they run over there. It's a win-win situation, so you just got to make the most of it. I think he's better than Kenny Pickett. I think he's got the weapons around him that can help him. I mean, they got a solid running back in Najee. They just drafted, what's his name on the outside?
Pickens.
I mean, you got...
I think they got my guy from Memphis, too. Forget his name, little speedster.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then you got Claypool, obviously.
Top 5 receiver in his mind.
In his mind, yeah. I mean, he's a solid receiver, just not that good.
TikTok guy.
But I think it's a blessing in disguise that his career took a turn where it did.
Mm.
So he's just got to go out there, prove it, make the plays, be smart with the ball, and I think he'll have a solid season. I mean, I think where we have him ranked, I think at the end of the season, it's a possibility that he could end up being like an 18, 19.
I was going to say, he could jump 8-9 spots for sure.
So
I agree. Crazy to say that.
Yeah.
We believe in Mitch Trubisky so much, but that's what the narrative can do for you. Let's see, what pick is it? 28. I have Geno Smith. In 8 seasons, he has only started. I know. In 8 seasons, he has only started 34 games. 13-21 is his record. The past 2 seasons, he has been behind Russell Wilson in Seattle. When he played a little bit last year, he showed me a little bit of maturity. Obviously, the numbers aren't what they would be if he was a starter, but his completion percentage was up. I think he had 5 touchdowns, 1 interception in a few games as a starter. The 1 interception did lose them the game. It was at the end of the game, I believe, against San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. But he was leading this team, not a very good team. I mean, you do have DK and Lockett, and those running backs we mentioned, they're good, but they're injured, and now Chris Carson's obviously retired. But Geno Smith, a guy that I might believe in a little more than most, probably a little more than all. I think the maturity he's shown over the last season or the last couple of games he played, I think he can carry that into this season.
I just remember watching that draft where he was waiting in that green room for so long.
Second round pick, that's tough. When they invite you in your second round.
Yeah, that's gotta be brutal.
That's like 13 hours.
So you got a little higher for me. I mean, I didn't rank him because I had Drew Lock starting. I think, I think you send Russell Wilson over to Denver, you want Drew Lock as a piece coming back to you. That kind of hints to me like we're going to run with you for a while unless we make another trade for like a Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
So I got Drew Lock ranked 32nd because I think, and you could put those two 32, 33 almost, but
above Darnold?
No, I put Darnold above. I mean, I put Darnold 32 over Drew Lock even. Okay. But the way I ranked,
Yep.
So I guess for me, there are 2 poor choices who you want starting and leading your team.
Mm-hmm.
Not much to say about them, really. I mean, like you said, you hit on all the stuff with Geno. He showed a little. I mean, that first game, especially when he came out, I think that first drive he led a touchdown. I forget who they were playing, but I think it was a long touchdown to DK down the right sideline at home.
He didn't look too bad.
And it was prime time.
I mean, the numbers obviously aren't great, but he didn't look too bad.
No, he looked way better than he did in New York.
Yeah.
And I think New York's got that, especially the Jets have got that rap of that's where quarterbacks go to die.
Who was the last good one?
That's what I'm saying.
Joe Namath.
Like,
we're not going to lie to ourselves.
They ruined quarterbacks.
Say Mark Sanchez was a quarterback.
But you can't. I mean, you give Zach Wilson 1 more year, obviously, but you got a new system in place with that new coaching staff, Robert Saleh, and I don't know their offensive coordinator, obviously, but that's usually where quarterbacks go when they ruin their career.
Yeah, we'll get there in a second. Moving off of Geno, what do we have him at? 30 or 28? And now we'll go to Jacoby Brissett is my 27th ranked quarterback. 14-23 career record as a starter. He's been a solid backup. As a rookie, he played a little bit in New England when Tom was suspended. He played in Indianapolis as a starter when Andrew Luck was hurt, and then again when Andrew Luck retired. A little bit in Miami last year as well when Tua was hurt. A guy I would trust as a backup for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
As a starter, maybe a little higher than most people would have him. But going into the situation in Cleveland, you're not going to have Deshaun. You obviously traded away Baker. This is your option right here. I think you just brought in Josh Rosen, you told me. But I don't think he's going to be much of a factor
That's
over
an
there at all.
insurance policy.
Has to be. Second or third string at best.
Yep.
Maybe even released after Deshaun comes back. But I don't know. Jacoby, if the game was on the line, I'd watch. There's some guys where I'd be like, oh my man, what's next, you know? But I think he has a chance to be decent in the starting role for Cleveland until Deshaun Watson gets back.
Yeah, and I mean, for my rankings, I didn't put him on because I have Deshaun on my rankings, and I just think I did that because Deshaun's obviously the better quarterback in the future there. So I left him off my list, but
where'd you have Deshaun?
I have Deshaun, my 7th ranked quarterback.
Okay, I think I had him at 4 or 5. I think 5.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a top 10 quarterback without question.
Easily.
So, but with Brissett, I love him as a backup. I think he is a baller when he goes in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he mans up and he goes out and tries to win every game. Do I love watching him out there? Not necessarily, but I trust him in more backup quarterbacks that are in this league because there are so many second string backups in this league that don't deserve to be on a roster.
Not at all.
So, I mean, to have him as your backup and insurance policy for the Deshaun situation, I'm okay with that because I feel like we got, some playmakers and especially a running game that can hold up. And you got Amari Cooper, who's not far out from being a hardcore number 1 receiver. I mean, he's kind of fallen off, but I still trust him to get the job done. I mean, he's one of those receivers that you can put him with any quarterback and he'll go out and make a play.
I think so. He just needs to be more consistent.
Yeah. So, with Brissett, yeah, I'd agree. That's probably a fair ranking.
The second guy in my okay category, Marcus Mariota, one of your boys from back in the day. 29-32, career record as a starter. 63%, 77 touchdowns, 45 picks over his career. So not the best touchdown to interception ratio, but still a guy I would feel confident in his ability on my team as a quarterback if he's in the right system. He's played well in some situations. He hasn't played well in others. I think he is one of those guys who is a system guy. I think he would even be a good quarterback in San Francisco if Trey Lance ends up not working out.
Yeah.
Kind of the style that Shanahan wants out there. But here I have Marcus Mariota, my second guy in my okay category.
And where did you have him ranked?
Whatever this is, 26th.
Okay, so I have him 27th.
All right.
So I feel, and I kind of feel, when I was doing this, I kind of felt like bad putting his name there, but at the same time, I thought about it and I looked at it and I was like, there's no reason to feel bad. You're just feeling bad because of name recognition. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because of how good he was in college, what he was expected to be coming out of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
He just hasn't lived up to the hype, and he's fallen off pretty hard. So I think 26, 27, fair ranking. It's just now he's another quarterback that could move up to the 19, 20 spot.
He could
if he has a good year, which is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to see him have a season where you get benched for Desmond Ridder. Like, don't go out and do that.
Do you think they'll put Ridder out there in that situation? All you have is Kyle Pitts.
If the record gets bad enough and they kind of fall out of the playoff chase,
they'll be out of there quick.
I think you have nothing to lose putting Ridder in. You give him, you drafted him to be, at least your short-term future. You got to get him ready somehow.
My 25th ranked quarterback, and to start my unproven category, a guy that we talked about earlier, Zach Wilson. 13 games last year, was 55%, 9 touchdowns, 11 picks, was sacked 44 times. His rookie season is pretty ugly. Coaching staff out there, we believe in,
Mm-hmm.
and they drafted well. We think with the addition of a running back, that'll help a lot, as well as a receiver from Ohio State, who was a top-notch receiver in college.
Mm-hmm.
This guy really doesn't have an excuse now going forward. You have an off season in the NFL. You learned how to do things. Hopefully you're studying tape more than some other guys. And you really have a chance to take that leap here in year 2. You have weapons around you. You know, you have a defensive coach, so the defense will be solid. They'll be able to get you the back, maybe in some short fields or some good situations. You just got to go out there and make the plays now.
Yeah.
I think you were the number 2 quarterback.
Yeah.
I never would have taken you that high, but they obviously believed in you. You were 3-10 last year. You at least gotta double that this year.
So I have Zach Wilson, my 29th ranked quarterback, and to me, I think it's justifiable because he didn't show last year he could be a quarterback that no matter who you put out there, he's going to make plays for you. He crumbled under pressure. He made bad decisions. Granted, he didn't have the best weapons, but you're a rookie who started right away. You're going to have growing pains, obviously. But you had to show a little more than what you did last year to justify a higher ranking than what I gave you. Like, you're still a bottom feeder quarterback. Until you prove he's a quarterback who can make a significant jump.
He deserves 29. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. So, I just think, to me, he's another show me guy. Like, you got the talent.
Yeah.
Just go do it. I mean, I picked the Jets to have a better record this year, be a better overall team. But it's going to come down to Zach Wilson every single game.
On to the next quarterback, who was a rookie last year as well, who now has a new staff in Chicago, Justin Fields. In 12 games last year, 59%, only 7 touchdowns, 10 picks, was sacked 36 times, and was 2-8.
And you have him 24?
I have him 24th.
That's
I felt like him coming out of college, I felt just as good about him as I did as Trevor Lawrence. That situation, honestly, was the worst in the league last year.
It still is.
It still is, honestly.
And
all you have is Darnell Mooney.
I feel terrible for him that he's starting his career this way because you know what? To me, if he's in the right situation last year starting, he's a borderline top 15 quarterback.
I think he has the ability. He's bigger than I thought.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's fast, strong arm, very strong arm, accurate down the field. Just when you have one weapon in Darnell Mooney and he's not a number 1, although he is a good player. I mean, they traded away Allen Robinson. They don't have a running back.
Yeah.
They traded away their defense. This new coaching staff, we're going to see what they do if they can make something out of nothing. But this is tough, man. I don't know much guys who came into a worse situation than this for the first 2 years.
Him and Trevor Lawrence. I mean,
Trevor
which
Lawrence.
which situation would you rather pick?
Oh, Trevor Lawrence I have next at 23?
Me too. I have him at 23 as well.
And I'd probably pick his situation. I mean,
well, I'm saying last year though, strictly like, would you want Urban Meyer in that situation, or do you want to deal with the Matt Nagy and that shit show as well? Like, for me,
I'd probably deal with Jacksonville because the weather's nicer.
Fair enough.
That's gonna be my 2 options.
Yeah, fair enough. I could roll with that. I'd probably choose the same, and I'd almost probably choose the same because the Urban Meyer name. I would have went like, oh shit, like hey.
He's done it at Bowling Green. He's done it at Ohio State.
Like that's
Next
a coach
Pete Carroll.
right there, and then you get. But see, that's the problem with these coaches that try to make it to the league. Like Urban Meyer had no business being in the NFL. You can't come in the NFL and run it like a college program.
Yeah, not the way he was trying to do it.
You can't do that. And when you're kicking a kicker and doing all that crap, like you're humiliating a man, bro. Like
You are. You can't do that.
Like this is a grown man's league. This isn't college where you can get away with that because you're the head honcho. Like,
And they need the scholarship.
yeah, like no one says shit in college because they're there to make it to the league and just get out of there. Like,
Yeah.
So.
Sticking with Jacksonville, though, Trevor Lawrence, like I said, was my next ranked quarterback here. 17 games, just under 60%. Only 12 touchdowns in every game played this season, but did have a pick per game, so good for him. 32 sacks, didn't show me a lot, but also has a new staff. Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning coach in Philadelphia a few years back. Definitely an upgrade from Urban Meyer. 3-14 in his rookie year. I expect this to be similar. Although I think the team will be a lot better. They made a lot of moves. Not a lot of great moves, but moves that will help the team. The record will be similar. The team will be better. And I think next year or 2 years from now is when you'll start to see some real improvement in this team.
See, I think their record might be similar as last year. But they're going to be in pretty much every single game because of Trevor Lawrence.
Because of him.
Yes. I think he's going to make a huge jump this year and show people why he was that number one pick.
Okay.
So, and that's my prediction. I think with Doug Peterson, who has done very well with the quarterbacks he's been around, he's going to instill some confidence in him and show him that he can trust him. And I feel like that's going to be a big boost this year. He's going to be in a system that is solidified, that is not going to be, a headline every week. I think that Trevor Lawrence, I mean, you watched him in college, bro. He coming in the league, he didn't lose since high school.
No, I know. It was like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Like, dude, that's a special kind of quarterback.
My 22nd ranked quarterback last season in 12 games was 7-5 as a starter. We talked about just being in this state because of the weather. We'll just move a little bit in another direction. Tua, quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. I think he's in my improving category, even though this is his second season. I mean, he has a new staff, but he came into the league injured, hip injury. That was very significant. The first year, maybe you could argue he was rushed back. I think Fitzpatrick was the quarterback at the time. And even though the team was doing fairly well, they threw Tua in there just because you're a top 10 pick. We got to see what you can do. Second year, he did okay. I mean, Tyreek's out here making comments that he's the most accurate quarterback. And, I mean, he's not a guy that really pushes the ball downfield. So, short passes-wise,
on paper,
he's pretty accurate. I mean, I think he's 68% for his career. So, on paper, I can understand what you're saying. But, I mean, the eye test just doesn't show that ability to push the ball downfield like that. And with weapons like Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, fast running backs, Gesicki's a really good tight end, arguably top 5.
Mm-hmm.
He has no excuses to not be successful this year.
No, none at all. I'm not cutting him any slack. I'm coming for that neck every single week if it's not producing.
You have to.
But I have Tua as 21.
All right.
So I think, this is the year that you have to show something. Like, you have to put it together. You have to take that team somewhere. Like I said to you the other day, yes, Buffalo will win that division, but there's no reason you shouldn't be number 2 with a playoff spot.
Your talent on paper is 10 times better than New England. Maybe your coaching staff isn't. We'll see what these guys do over there. Yep. Mike McDaniels and the new guys, but
that
no excuses.
That division's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Don't sleep on the Jets.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to watch. Like, I'm excited for the season as a whole, but it's just with all these, it's been a cool off season in the sense of there's been so many different kind of moves where it gets you excited for each team in this way because things are changing up more so than what they have. Like, there's not too many teams staying stale and stagnant.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to this season a lot.
Yes, indeed. My last quarterback of the unproven category, Davis Mills.
Okay.
Houston Texans quarterback, 13 games as a starter last year. Did go 2-9, but similar to how we feel Jacksonville will be, this team was competitive in most games last year. They do have a new staff now. Lovie Smith coming over there and leading the way. 67%, 16 touchdowns, 10 picks, 31 sacks. So solid numbers. A couple upset wins. A couple really close games. A guy that competes, a guy that showed me a lot more than I thought he was capable of coming out of college. And I think he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks coming out of that draft class, honestly.
Yeah, my number 20 is Matt Corral. I'm just kidding.
I was like,
you dropped
what?
What? You dropped that real quick there. You looked at me like, why are you on this show right now?
Hey, we got a hot take, folks.
Nah,
about to fire up a TikTok.
I actually have Davis Mills at 26. I just think, it's still a bad situation, and I mean, you got some more pieces around you, but he's shown he can turn into a very quality starting quarterback. I just think, for me, 20 is kind of pushing it a little bit, or 21 or whatever it was.
It's high.
I think you need a year or two more to justify that, or even higher.
I will tell you, first 9, 10, easy. 11, 12, man.
Yeah.
That 13 to 16 was tough, and that 17 to 21 was like...
I know, bro. Once you get out of that top 15, it's you start looking at the rosters and you start looking at the quarterbacks and who's going to start and possibly starting the battles. It's like, man, dude, like, it shows because you're picking certain starters, or I'm picking certain starters in these camp battles that we're about to see. So it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out.
So that's 32 to 21. Let's recap what we have so far. You want to go ahead and go first?
So my 32 is Drew Lock, 31 Trey Lance, 30 Daniel Jones, 29 Zach Wilson, 28 Mitchell Trubisky, 27 Mariota, 26 Davis Mills, and 25 we didn't hit on him, but Carson Wentz.
You didn't say your 25th?
No, I didn't, because I was going off of what you were saying. So.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, do you have him on your list anywhere?
He's higher.
Okay, so we'll get to him and I'll discuss him then.
All right.
But 24, Justin Fields. 23, Trevor Lawrence. 22, Jared Goff. 21, Tua.
Okay. 32, Trey Lance. 31, Sam Darnold. 30, Daniel Jones. 29, Trubisky. 28, Geno Smith. Oh, that's kind of ugly, now I'm thinking about it. 27, Jacoby Brissett. 26, Mariota. 25, Zach Wilson. 24, Fields. 23, Trevor Lawrence. 22, Tua. Say that 5 times fast. 21, Davis Mills. And on to number 20, the start of my this guy's fine, Jalen Hurts. 9 and 10 as a starter. You have him 20 as well?
20 as well.
Wow, we're almost damn near identical. Lacks accuracy, consistency. Is a guy who has gotten better every season he's been in the league, and I think he will continue to get better. This roster, arguably the best in the league, for sure, I would say top 5. The addition of A.J. Brown, you have Devontae Smith on the other side, you have good tight end in Goddard. The running game picked up towards the end of last year. You're also a good runner yourself. Good offensive line. Grabbed a good defensive lineman in Jordan Davis in the draft. Hassan Reddick is going to be over there to help your defense, along with Bradbury, opposite of Slay. Another guy alongside Tua, who has no excuses. Another guy who went to Alabama. Even though you transferred, you need to make me proud, Jalen.
Yeah.
I have this team at 12 and 5, so in order for them to do that, this guy's going to have to produce.
So I have Jalen, like I said, at 20 as well, but I see this guy as a potential top 15 quarterback easily. If he puts it together, he's got the running capability, he got the arm strength, he got the talent around you. I hate saying it because I hate the Eagles. I just hate the Eagles.
Because they beat you?
Not even that. I just always not liked them. Something about them. I don't know if it's that nasty dark green color or what it is, but they just rub me the wrong way. The font, or I don't know. They just...
That green is ugly.
And their fans are just so boisterous for no reason. Just get out of here with that. But at the end of the day, that talent that roster is loaded, and they've went to the playoffs 4 of the past 5 years, so they consistently have a very good organization.
It's a good stat, sir.
So I think you get A.J. Brown in there, man. You got Devontae Smith, you got Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert. There's no reason you shouldn't be in the playoffs and making a run.
Especially given your division.
And you got very good talent on defense. There's Jalen, this is your time, bro. Put it together and show that you can put up the stats that we think you can and take that team as far as possible.
He's a guy I believe in, and I might sound like real corny, but he played against Tom in the playoffs. I feel like he's a guy who watched time and how he prepared and how he played that game and managed that game. And he's going to study that tape a couple of times this season and take that into next season, especially given the expectations he had.
You know what? I think with Jalen, I think he kind of gets this no love type of rap from a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and it's really not justified, I think, because everyone thinks he's just a runner. Granted, I mean, sometimes you have, as a coach, you have to play to your strengths, and that's what it was last year. They did. I mean, Devontae was a rookie; he couldn't do it all. He traded away Zach Ertz. Dallas Goedert was hurt sometime. I mean, you wasted a first round pick on Jalen Reagor. Thank God.
Should have been just a. All right.
So thank you for taking him off our hands.
You would have took a fucking guard if Jefferson wasn't there.
Boy,
or something.
if we would have drafted Reagor, man, I might have retired my jersey. No, I wouldn't have gone that far, but I would be fuming. But I mean, I just think that so far within his career, they've had to play to his strengths with the talent they've had around him. You go get A.J. Brown. Now you got second-year Devontae Smith, who's going to take a leap. Miles Sanders, is he the greatest back? No, but he's capable, and he gets the job done. He does the dirty work. Goddard stays healthy, probably top 5 tight end, maybe.
I'll give him 10.
So, I mean, I think Jalen, they're going to put the ball in his hands more to make something happen in the air. It's just a matter of going out there and doing it.
You have to. Those weapons are so unique on the outside. One of the fastest guys in the league, along with one of the best receivers on the other
And here's the thing about Jalen for me, like, I truly believe in him in the fact that I think he's taken this very serious, and he's been studying, and he's been putting in the reps and reps and reps all off season.
Yeah.
I think he. I mean, you watch him on training camp live or like his press conferences. He's eye contact all the way.
Intense.
He's about his business.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I love seeing about a quarterback. Like, don't do all this talking, this jibber jabbering, talking smoke. You know, like, tell it like it is. Say what you've been doing, and be about your business. And I feel like he's just a quarterback and a player in the league he goes about his business and he wants to prove people wrong. And that's one of the players that you have to fear the most.
My last thing on Jalen before we move on, I want to say his first game as a starter at Oklahoma. These numbers are completely wrong, but just whatever, 25 for 35 touchdowns or something. He's interviewed after the game, looks pissed off. He feels like he could have played better. He feels like he left players out there on the field. So that's the kind of attitude you want from a quarterback for sure.
Yeah, and that's someone you trust 110% as a leader.
Indeed. I think he has the potential to be, after Brady, some of these other guys we'll mention later, he has the potential
He's a
to be
guy
the best
that guys
leader
are
in the
want to
league.
go to Philly because they want to play with him.
Indeed. That's a good organization too, so they got a bright future.
Yep.
Number 19, Jared Goff. Career record of 45-37 and 1 tie. Was the number 2 pick, drafted into a terrible situation. Jeff Fisher as your head coach, who's really been successful besides Steve McNair in that situation. Did lead his team to the Super Bowl when Sean McVay came over. Didn't do anything but shit the bed in that game. I think 3 points, but I think he was coming off of injury. Had a broken thumb, I think, and had to replace the quarterback who replaced him because he got hurt, if I remember correctly. But out in Detroit, they have a lot of weapons now. St. Brown, they drafted Jameson Williams, and they got DJ Chark in the offseason. I like the running game, and I think their head coach has his head on his shoulders right. He's going to put this team in position to win the game. Jared Goff, obviously, like I said, being the number 2 overall pick, he showed ability. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler, has thrown for 4,600 yards twice in his career. So I think, given a better situation like he has now, I think he has a chance to redeem himself and have a little bit of a bounce back here.
Okay, that's fair enough. I agree with everything you're saying. I have him ranked at 22. I believe I said that in the recap. He's not a guy I trust. Like, he looks scatterbrained out there, and he doesn't make the best decisions, but he is capable of making good decisions. But it goes to show, like, when you're with the Rams and you you guys are so hot and cold with you at quarterback, and you can go to the Super Bowl and you shit the bed, and then Stafford comes to town and you guys are lights out. Like, it just goes to show you were kind of that weak link.
You were the liability.
Like, so I feel like he's outside of my top 20. For me, 19 is Jameis Winston.
Okay.
You know, and I don't know where you got him ranked, but I think Jameis is a top 20 quarterback.
It's coming up.
He's got the talent, the ability. You know, I don't totally trust the head on his shoulders because he's very out there, personality-wise. And, you know, I've seen clips where, you know, he'll make a throw and it's a terrible throw, but he'll be looking kind of like look at his receiver like, what happened? What went wrong? And I'm thinking to myself, like, you motherfucker, like, did you see where you threw that pass? Like, he's got the talent to be another guy who could be a top 15 quarterback, but I think he's also another quarterback that he needs the pieces around him to flourish to his fullest potential.
I'll say my piece on him in a second, but who'd you have at 25 again?
25, Carson Wentz.
Because you're wearing his colors right now. And I have him at 18. You must be a believer.
No.
Number 1 overall pick. You mentioned earlier, out of North Dakota State, one of the smaller schools, but he was dominant out there, but also did deal with injury as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty much been his issue in the league, along with his taking care of the football. Last year it was 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, so you could argue he had a better season taking care of the ball. He did shit the bed and not get his team into the playoffs, losing to Jacksonville the last week of the season, and that's all you have to do. You know, Carson Wentz, the guys I think who gets hated on and gets a bad rep, but he was gonna win the MVP before he hurt his knee. I think that was against the Rams. And he did have that team number 1 in the NFC and on his way to a Super Bowl win. I mean, obviously it was a very talented team, a very talented roster. If their backup quarterback could go ahead and beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. But there's no reason to believe that Carson Wentz couldn't have done the same thing that year. 41 points is a lot, but I think he was definitely on par for doing that. Like I said, bounced back a little bit last season. A lot of guys don't believe in him. I think he has potential and the talent to get into that top 15, but kind of like what you said about Jameis, the head on his shoulders in the decision making, as well as taking care of the ball, big questions marks. And at quarterback, as well as health, I mean, that is just a terrible combination.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know what to say. The 1 year he was, you know, going for MVP. Was that Doug Peterson being that well of a quarterback coach? Or, I mean, he went out there and did it, obviously. It just makes me wonder.
It makes you wonder because Nick Foles went crazy in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, after that year, like, Wentz he's just never been that guy.
Well, that next year, obviously, you're going to be a little tentative. I definitely would.
Yeah.
These
And, like, he was decent last year. Like, you could watch a game and be like, okay, you know, we can live with this guy. But also the rumblings I was hearing from the cold side, based on, you know, NFL Network and all that, is it's coming from, I think, Irsay, the coaches. Like, no one really likes him.
That's what I hear in Philly too. He wasn't a great leader. He wasn't a great locker room guy. He's not very likable.
Very weird. Like, just like his personality rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah.
So that worries me about having a quarterback like that.
Yeah.
And that scares me. You know, what worries me the most about him being in Washington is I just don't want McLaurin to suffer because of Wentz.
I agree.
I think McLaurin is a very underrated and very good receiver, but that should also benefit Wentz. So how this plays out, we'll have to see.
McLaurin, best receiver he's had so far. Better than anybody in Indy.
Yep.
Better than Alshon Jeffrey.
Yep.
So, I mean, McLaurin, I'm definitely glad he's getting his love now because that dude is nasty.
Yeah, he's...
And went over there with Ron Rivera, a coach who's been to the promised land before, played himself. He knows what he's doing over there. I think he's a really good coach.
And I think the OC is Scott Turner, I believe.
Okay.
So we'll see how that works out for Wentz. Because Rivera, we all know, is a defensive guy.
The defense is good. The division's weak. You have a chance 7-9, 8, or whatever, 7-10, 8-9. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 9-8.
So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't know, but like, yeah, me, Wentz, 20. What was it? 25.
25. Yeah.
And you, 18. Okay. It's a little bit of separation there, but I can see where you're coming from with him.
44-40 and 1 tie as a starter.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
okay.
That's about what you would
fair.
expect.
Yeah.
500 record from him. 33-44 for this next guy, who you had at 19, Jameis Winston. Strong arm, intelligent. I think he is a good leader. He is just a little weird, quirky,
But guys love that though, because they can. I mean,
football's such a serious game. Maybe sometimes
he lightens it up. Like he makes it fun.
Maybe that's beneficial.
That's okay, but it's just go out there and put it together now.
Number 1 overall pick. Definitely, like we said, has a problem with turnovers, but you get guys like Olave, Jarvis Landry. You have Alvin Kamara. Maybe you get Michael Thomas coming back if his head's on right and his ankle feels good. Like you said, he started last season. Definitely looked like he was taking care of that turnover issue. It was unfortunate he had that injury because the Saints are a team, for me personally, who I think played really well against Tom Brady. They beat him a lot, and I'd have loved to see it last year. So to see him go down was definitely not a good sight to see. New coach this year, no Sean Payton. Dennis Allen's in there now, so we'll see how the offense changes. The defense is always solid. Usually not talked about because Drew Brees is throwing for 5,000 yards.
Right.
Now that's not the case. We can put some more attention over there and really recognize what they're doing. Cam Jordan and those boys really play every year. They're really solid. So this team really doesn't have any weaknesses, and the question mark is quarterback.
Yeah, and I'd say, well, I was gonna say and head coach, but because it's one thing being a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, position coach. It's one thing being a head coach leading the whole squad.
It is, yeah.
So we'll see how he handles that. Also, with Kamara, he could possibly be out the first 6 games. So you're gonna have to lean on Mark Ingram.
Mm-hmm. Big trust.
That's a little more difficult because he's kind of that bruiser back.
He's definitely a different style.
So
Lindell White, Chris Johnson.
Yeah. So I mean, I like Mark Ingram, but he's not as dynamic as Kamara. So we'll see how that works out.
6 games is probably all he has left in the tank to be a starter for this season.
Yeah.
And going
but
forward,
he's a beast of a backup.
He is.
Change of pace back.
He is. Moving on to the next category. The guys I'm labeling as the good quarterbacks. Starting off here, we have Ryan Tannehill, 72-59 as a career starter. This is a guy who I think has peaked in this league. Last year he led his team to the number 1 seed, and a guy who I thought got a lot of flack in Miami, who was in a bad situation. And we have to remember he did play wide receiver starting out at Texas A&M. So if you're going to draft this guy at quarterback, give him a little bit of time to develop and some weapons. He had none of that time and none of those weapons. So, like I said, he peaked. He's okay. He's good. He led the team to the number 1 seed without Derrick Henry for the second half of the season, which is impressive. Part of that is the coaching staff. Part of that is the team's identity. He's shown he's capable, but when you got to the big game, you throw an interception on the first play of the game, and you throw another crucial one in the second half, pretty much sealing your fate. So I can't justify putting Tannehill much higher than this right here.
And what was he at?
17?
I have him at 18. And because 17 is where I had Baker Mayfield. But Tannehill, yeah, he is what he is. And he's a quarterback that gets the job done because you know what they're going to do. They're going to pound the rock with Henry.
Yeah.
And he just needs to make a few throws.
Just be a good game manager.
So, but this is with the Titans this year. This is what scares me. I don't know where you had them. I don't remember where we had them record-wise.
I had them winning their division still.
Okay. But to me,
you had the Colts.
To me, they could be a surprise team that flounders a little bit. Like, kind of is not a bottom feeder, but they're very average because teams got them figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, all you got to do is stack the box against Henry. Granted, he can run through everyone. All you got is Robert Woods and who else they draft?
My guy out of Arkansas, Traylon
Traylon
Burks.
Yeah.
Is this situation Derrick Henry's AP, Christian Ponders, Tannehill? Who were your receivers at the time, Sidney and Percy?
Yeah, I believe so.
Which foursome do you think is better, the Titans or the Vikings you had at the time? Just because of that quarterback position? Because the players around them.
Yeah, I mean, shoot. I mean, Henry's a different beast. I mean, look at his size, you know, and the way he runs. But you put on the highlight films of them side by side, he ain't touching AP in a foot race.
He's not touching AP as a back, period. I mean,
like,
I love Derrick Henry. I love Alabama running backs. I love Alabama, period.
I mean, AP was a whole different animal.
It's nothing like AP. AP and LT are by far the two best running backs I've ever seen. And while I've been alive, you know what I'm saying?
And, I mean, I don't know, man. When I think Titans now, I kind of put my head down and shake it because they're so boring to watch.
I think they will be, especially this year.
We all get it. Derrick Henry, but guess what? He's another injury away from you guys shit in the bed.
He is. He didn't even play that well in the playoff game. He didn't look like
Teams,
himself at all.
This is what I mean from earlier in the show today, where we're talking about playground football. Like, Tannehill's only going to take you as far as he takes you, which could be AFC Championship, could be no playoffs. I mean, he's just that. You look at him and you're just like, yeah, well, we'll roll with him.
Prototype body, strong arm. You make just enough plays.
Yeah.
That we're
I think he's in a much better situation now than he was in Miami by all accounts.
Right.
But you don't give him Derrick Henry. I think last year when he was out half the year, I think it was a fluke because teams thought, oh shit, no Derrick Henry. What are they gonna do now? So he had that leeway of being. I mean, they got that on tape now. What do they do without Henry?
Right. With lesser weapons now as well.
So when you take that into consideration, you know what they're going to do with Henry, and you know what they're going to do without Henry now.
Yeah.
They're very bland, vanilla, not that fun to watch, but they pull out W's. And I mean, their division's not that strong, so.
At the end of the day, that's what matters, though.
Right.
Get the dubs.
But do I want to see them in the playoffs? Just from an entertainment standpoint as a fan? No.
Well, the team you did have winning the division and making the playoffs by default, Indianapolis Colts. I have their quarterback ranked right here at 16, 120, and 102 as a career record as a starter. A guy that's had a lot of success in this league. MVP, 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro. He is on his last legs, though. That arm looks a little noodly. The strength is not there like it used to be. Never was a mobile guy, but really is not a mobile guy now.
Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't really be in a better situation given you probably have the best running back in the league, given what we just talked about with Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
You have a good offensive line, arguably the best offensive line. You have a good defense. You have a you have a good organization that's been putting guys in the right positions for a couple of years now. Definitely been staying afloat after Andrew Luck, so I respect that a lot. Good weapons on the outside as well. You have some speed and some size. So Matt Ryan, if you want a rejuvenation year, you only had one touchdown pass to Kyle Pitts last year. I think you can definitely have a rejuvenation year and a bounce back year here in Indianapolis.
Yep. And this is exactly where I had him too, 16. I think everything you said was right on the money. This is his chance to have one last rejuvenation, but this is to ride off into the sunset. So
This is it.
This is his last ride.
This is probably what Indy's going to be for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo's here next year.
And that wouldn't be a bad idea.
No, not at all. The next category, the I can win guys. I feel like I can win with these guys if, I got the pieces around me. First here at 15, Kyler Murray. Rookie of the Year, offensively, and a 2-time Pro Bowler. Not a leader. He's not mature. And being a littler guy at 5'10", he has durability issues. And although he has played 46 out of his 49 games so far, I don't see that being the case going forward. He's very talented. He doesn't watch film, we learned this week, but his numbers have gotten better. He is a strong runner, arguably the most dynamic runner in the league at the quarterback position. If you don't want to, it's him and Lamar easily. Jalen Hurts, he's in a different argument, although he is a good runner. Kyler Murray, 22, 23, and 1, career record as a starter, so a losing record. And like we said, this episode and the last, a guy who starts the season fast and is real slow. And with no D-Hop this year for the first 6 games, you got your college roommate and your college buddy back. I just think it's going to be tough going forward with Kyler Murray, but can't deny the talent. Number 15 on the list for me.
That's where I have him. I just, to me, putting him at 15 just goes to show, like, I'm not the biggest fan. Because, I feel like he has more talent than 15.
He does.
But
his ball is pretty.
I don't trust him.
He just leaves you wanting a lot more.
Yeah, and I guess when I listen to his interviews and I hear him talk, the way he walks around the field or up to the bench, he's very pouty, hangs his head, poor me, and it's like, bro, you're making millions of dollars to play a kid's game.
Mm-hmm.
Grow the fuck up. Be happy out there. Yeah, you want to win. Everyone wants to win. But you know what? You just might not be that good enough.
He might not be. And although you have the tools, I don't know why you're not. Because this team has got behind you every step of the way. Got you the best receiver in the league at the time, and DeAndre Hopkins. Mm-hmm. And now they got you your boy from college. You have no excuses. James Conner had 18 rushing touchdowns last year, so your offense can be dynamic. They gave you another running back in the offseason. Zach Ertz re-signed. You have no excuses.
To have to put a stipulation in your contract that you must watch 4 hours of game film on the opponent independently by yourself on your iPad that we can track is embarrassing. That just shows how immature you are.
That is disgusting.
It shows the immaturity. Like, what are you doing? Playing Call of Duty? Hey, you wanna run trios?
They're doing this alternate map shit. They got resurgence today. Fortune's Key tomorrow. What you on?
Oh man, I don't know. So I don't got much to say because we hit on it earlier. So 15 is where we got them. On to the next.
15. We're not going to recap here, but from one OU quarterback to another former OU quarterback. You did mention you had Baker on your list. We didn't touch on him. Can you tell me where you have him, where you have him, and where do you have him?
Baker Mayfield?
Yeah.
17.
17. Okay. Yeah. Where would that be on mine? Shit. Right where Tannehill is? Okay. And why do you have him 17?
I feel like he's a middle-of-the-road quarterback. Good enough to get it done, but just doesn't have it all the way to take you there. So, and maybe that will, change. Maybe he'll have that bounce back. Maybe he'll have that rejuvenation. But I didn't really like him coming out of college. Same with Kyler. I just feel like, what is he, 6 foot? He just looks like a short, chubby little quarterback out there.
Little beer drinker.
And just his wannabe swag and the...
just his overall demeanor, personality, attitude.
It just rubs me the wrong way. It's another immature kind of thing. Is that what OU runs out there? Is teaches them to be leaders by showboating and...
Jalen's not that way, but he can start there.
But where'd he come from?
That's what I'm saying. Nick don't play that.
So, and Jalen was by far my favorite out of the three. Watching OU. You
don't like Rattler?
He left, bro. Why do you think he left? Coach left, and then he got benched consistently.
Sad.
While watching him in high school, I thought he was the next big thing, but you get those guys who have those highlight tapes, and they come to get to college thinking they're a big shot. And Rattler's one. It just goes to show they recruit those guys. Because Rattler was one of those guys who thought he was hot shit.
Oh, he did.
And taught all that shit. And now he's at South Carolina and he's still talking all that shit. But I think he's a little bit more humble, but not by much.
The SEC will humble you, so he'll figure it out. Jumping back into the list, number 14 here, Mac Jones, 10-7 record as a rookie, Offensive Rookie of the Year runner-up, one-time Pro Bowler, took an average roster to the playoffs. We could say some of that's Bill, but he really didn't have a lot of weapons out there, and he did what he could with them. I mean, there was a game where he threw, 5 passes, so that concerns me a little bit about if they have that much confidence in him.
Yeah.
And you did get washed in the playoffs, but this is a guy who came from a good program in Alabama, and I don't think the moment's going to be too big for him going forward. Only one season, and there's not a lot to say about that one season, except you did lead this team to the playoffs, and I think you're going to be one of those guys that progresses each year and looks better this year than you did last year, similar to how Jalen Hurts came into the league.
Yeah. You said I was going to be surprised by where you put him. That's exactly where I had
got him too?
So
I noticed you haven't said him yet, so.
So, yeah. I'm a huge Mac Jones believer. I think that dude is just, he's got that Tom Brady-esque feel to him. You know, the flabby body, just slow as hell.
He got a little swole this summer.
But that's what I said. I was hearing that he put in a ton of work this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to watch him. Obviously, Thanksgiving night, he's going to have to take that L, but it is what it is in that situation. We can get to that when we hit the week, whatever.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that.
But I think, he just hasn't been in the best situation with talent around him. You know, we'll see what this year offers, but I think he's a quarterback that's definitely going to take a pretty big leap, I believe. And not just from a talent standpoint, but you're going to see that leadership role really flourish this year.
Yep. You mentioned that Thanksgiving game.
Here we go. The same exact spot.
New England plays this team right here, man. Kirk Cousins is my number 13 quarterback. 8-17 in prime time. So I don't know if your prediction is going to hold up.
It will.
Okay, we'll see. Like you said, we'll talk about it. This is a guy who puts up great numbers. 4,000 yards, I think, in 6 of the last 7 seasons. But just doesn't pass the eye test for me. Does a lot of it when the game is out of hand. Does a lot of it when it doesn't really seem to matter. And 61, 62, and 2 as a record as a starter. And just, what would you think his record would be? Anything better or worse than 500?
You know,
it explains him perfectly.
I'm a diehard Vikes fan. I am obligated to root for the guy. But I know you recall me saying this a long time ago when he was in Washington, especially when that You Like That came out. I can't stand this guy. I used to be the biggest Kirk Cousins basher of them all.
That hurts, dude.
And when he signed with us, I swallowed my pride and I said, okay, I'm going to root for this guy because I don't do my team dirty. And I've actually grown to like him a lot more. I think, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a fan of the Vikes, but I truly believe with the Zimmer stuff going on, it was just a bad situation all around. He didn't feel comfortable. He had to run the plays that were called. This year he's going to have the freedom to make audibles at the line, run the plays he wants.
Can I stop you for a second? So him having that freedom, is that a good thing? Because when I watch the Vikings and that first drive is scripted, they look like the best offense in the league.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
But once things start getting changed and the defensive line shifts and the linebackers audible,
he couldn't do anything.
He doesn't get out of the pocket, like you said earlier. He just turns into a shell of himself
and
on the ground.
You're gonna see a lot more motion. Jefferson's gonna be moving a ton around the formation.
I think Jefferson's going for 1,800. 18 for Jefferson this year. What number is he? 18?
18.
Y'all heard it here first.
I think Kirk, you could argue he's a top 10 quarterback.
Talent-wise?
Talent-wise.
Intangibles, leadership, attitude, that's why he's not in the top 10. But talent-wise, definitely.
He's got a big arm. He's got a huge arm, but it's the checkdowns for me. It's the curling up and just rolling to the ground.
Sam Bradford.
And it's just he's a guy that is easily able to annoy you. Like he's the one he's the one guy on the team who's been easy as hell to blame for every loss. Because number one, a lot of fans didn't want him here. Didn't think he deserved that contract, which is still up in the air. We'll see this year. Can he justify it or not?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a possibility because when you have the comfortability you have with a coach like Kevin O'Connell, you guys are friends off the field.
That just relieves you of so much pressure. It takes so much off your shoulders.
He already has the trust in you. Like you can literally feel that weight come off your back, knowing that you have a coach that you're actually close friends with in real life, off the field, away from football. So it makes coming to work that much easier, more fun.
Yeah.
And you can actually be the coach out there on the field without having that side-eyed shit eating motherfucker Zimmer just eyeballing you.
Literally.
And it was actually Paul Allen actually came on the radio this week and said that, do you remember that walk-off field goal we had against the Detroit Lions at home this year?
I remember the one we had, not the one that you had.
But I think it was week 5 or 6. Both Lions games with us this year were terrible, but this one anyway. They at the end of the game, we hit the field goal. They pan over to the sidelines, and Cousins just grabs Zimmer by the collar and is like, "You like that? You like that?" And Zimmer just looks pissed as fuck, and he shoves Kirk. And Allen said, like, Zimmer in that moment,
wow,
actually wanted to take like a shot at Kirk Cousins, but realized also in that moment like what was going on and what was happening, so he just like shied away from it. But he said that Kirk felt in that moment that he had a free shot at Zim in a good way and took it, but it was both of them saying, "Hey, like fuck
you." Yeah. Shake you harder next time, motherfucker.
So it's kind of funny when you hear those stories because it's like there was so much more going on behind the scenes that was let out, and they both, you could tell every press conference you watch them last season, it's very just stern, monotone, like kind of it's just what you call a working relationship,
right?
So, and that's kind of off topic with Kirk, in the rankings, but I do feel he'll take a step forward this year. Even I just don't know how big, but I do feel more comfortable with this new regime having him as our quarterback, if that makes sense.
Yep. The guy I have ahead of Kirk, very similar, honestly. Puts up good numbers, but he does a lot of that in garbage time in the end of the game. Career record of 53-32. Dak Prescott. This is a guy similar to Kirk again. Everything needs to go right. Whenever Zeke's not Zeke or the offensive line isn't the O-line or you're missing the receiver, whenever Thielen's not Thielen, Dalvin Cook is out or something's wrong with the O-line, these guys don't produce the way that they're capable of.
They're quarterbacks that need the pieces.
They need absolutely everything they worked with for 8 weeks in the summer.
We have to all practice together all week long, so we have this game plan down to a T. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
And not a great situation. I mean, Jerry Jones, the most talkative owner in the league. Your first head coach is pretty bad. I forget his name. Jason Garrett. And now Mike McCarthy. He's proven to be a pretty bad coach. Terrible clock manager. Mm-hmm. And Aaron Rodgers gave him his name pretty much in this league. So, I mean, you don't have great leadership and a lot of guys that you can learn from. But you have definitely shown the capability that you're better than what you're producing. You're 143-50 as a touchdown to interception ratio. So that's almost 3-1. You definitely have the capabilities to be a top 10 quarterback similar to Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
You just got to go out there and show us.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I have him in the same spot. It's funny because when you look at that last play of the game in that playoff game last year, that is exactly something Kirk would do.
If he was fast enough. He would.
Like, they're...
See, Dak will run 20 yards in 14 seconds. Kirk will throw 4 yards on a 3rd and 8 with 1 minute left and no timeouts.
Yeah.
You're losing the game. Yeah, you completed the pass. Yeah, you got another $500,000 on your contract because you threw for this percentage. But we just missed the playoffs, motherfucker. What are you doing? What are you doing, honestly?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're 2 peas in the pod, honestly.
They really are, man. Derek Carr, my number 11 quarterback. I think the most overlooked quarterback in the league. A smaller school guy. And, and you get drafted to the Raiders organization. If you're not winning, you're not going to get talked about. But a guy who is very talented, has 4 4,000-yard seasons in a row, and is a 3-time Pro Bowler. This division is going to be tough, but you arguably have the best receiver in the league, a top 5 tight end, and arguably the best slot guy in the league in Hunter Renfrow. You have the weapons on offense to be successful. Offensive line is questionable. Josh Jacobs is a good running back, though, and I think the offensive scheme is going to be good enough for you to be very successful this summer, or this season, excuse me.
I have him in the same spot, so we're on a roll here matching.
That's unbelievable.
Like, I can't say much else than what you said. I think he's a very good quarterback. I just think having Devontae is gonna
It's gonna unleash something. It should.
It's gonna be almost scary. I think we're gonna watch this guy this year. I think, and we're gonna be like, man, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
That's what I have in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about Derek Carr is he just goes about his business. He's another guy that's just work hat or hard hat, lunch pail, and let's go to work.
A guy who's consistently taking less on his contract deals,
and it's
arguably the best leader in the league.
And that's a Brady factor in there, because why wouldn't, when you're a quarterback, I know you want to get paid, but as a leader, why wouldn't you take less money to help the team?
Right.
You're already getting paid millions. I don't have to be the richest quarterback in the league, but guess what? I know I'm better than you. You can't take that away from me.
Yeah, and you're making $50 million. You got no receivers,
and I'm being smart with my money.
Yeah.
So,
and like you said, I'm a quarterback in the California area, now in the Las Vegas area. There's going to be a lot of off the field opportunities for me, especially if I'm successful.
These days, think about it this way. These days, most players, if you're good and you know the game, you're getting into broadcasting, TV analyst. I mean, you're getting endorsement deals, advertising, you're making shit tons of money behind the scenes after football. You're still making millions in football, but just don't be greedy about it. Help the team. Make sure your front office can get the players you need to help you succeed and even be better with your numbers.
Yep. I agree. That's the way to do it.
So that's what I respect. I respect Brady more than anything for that. Derek Carr for that. It's just these new generation younger quarterbacks, they don't think that way.
And they've done nothing to earn it either.
No. And it pisses me off.
But that's a conversation we can have another time. Number 10. And then we'll get into our recap. Maybe that was number 10.
That was 11. But we can recap it, and then we'll do a top 10 real quick.
Jalen Hurts was my 20. Goff was my 19. Wentz was my 18. Winston was my 17. Tannehill my 16. Matt Ryan my 15. Kyler Murray my 14. Mac Jones my 13. Cousins my 12. My Dak Prescott 11. Dak Prescott my 11. And Derek Carr is my 10.
So you had your numbers off.
I had my numbers off.
So you had pretty much one guy spot ahead of mine.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. things happen.
So you want me to go through my recap of my?
Yes, please.
Okay, so my number 20, I had Jalen Hurts. 19, Jameis Winston. 18, Ryan Tannehill. 17, Baker Mayfield. 16, Matt Ryan. 15, Kyler Murray. 14, Mac Jones. 13, Kirk Cousins. 12, Dak Prescott. 11, Derek Carr.
Number 10.
And number 10, I have Matt Stafford.
Let's get to it. Matt Stafford for you. I have these three guys right here were tough for me, but I have Russell Wilson number 10.
Okay.
2 years ago, he was ranked the number 2 player by the players in the top 100 that they do every year. Last season was the first season he did finish the season without playing all 16 games, or 17 last year. Going into a new situation with great weapons. Obviously, we don't know what the status is on Jerry Jeudy right now, but you have good wide receivers outside of that, a good running back, a good offensive line, a good defense still, and this guy's a 9-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, over a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio over his career, and has led 31 game-winning drives since 2011. This guy's a leader, a baller. In a situation like this, in Denver, a good organization that's just been looking for a quarterback, I believe he'll definitely have a bounce-back season. Career record as a starter of 104. I think this says 53 and 1 tie. So, for sure a winner.
Yeah, and that was your number 9?
Yep, 9, yep.
So I have him at 8. I have Lamar Jackson at 9.
Okay.
I think Lamar has the ability to be higher in that list. It's just the accuracy issues and just not putting the passing game together fully yet. But I love the leadership. I think he's a guy you can easily follow, get along with, not have issues with.
This is Lamar you're talking about?
Lamar, yeah. So, but I think he does have consideration to be higher in the list. Now, as for you talking about Russell Wilson, he's my number 8. I just think he's proven over his career, like you said, he's a winner. He's a tremendous leader. But and you know I think he's wanted out of Seattle a lot longer than just it coming out this year.
Right.
I think it's been a wish in the making, if you will. But that's what I mean about being a leader. Like he's kept it under wraps. Like hush hush. Let me just go about my business, play with my teammates. Like didn't make a scene. Like didn't whine his way out of there.
How happy do you think he's not in Chicago?
I think he's very happy.
I think that was a team on his list.
I think he's very happy it ended the way it did.
Man.
I mean, you got lucky that you didn't go to Chicago because your career would have died.
You would have died. A guy that you had number 9, I have at number 8. My guy. Number 8 just happens to be number 8. Lamar Jackson, 37 and 12 as a starter. Like we mentioned earlier, his last 2 seasons have been subpar, especially coming off unanimous MVP. Getting a lot of flack for that, rightfully so. Needs to be better with his accuracy, decision making, throwing outside the numbers down the field. But as a rookie, he came in, led the team to a 6-1 record. You said you didn't like that. Came back next year, MVP. Shit the bed in the playoffs. Said you didn't like that. Won a playoff game the next year. Didn't like that. Well, we're the number 1 seed with all these injuries until I get hurt too. Now we're out of the playoffs. That was the situation last year. So I definitely think Lamar Jackson is a guy that's underrated, but if you look at the numbers, I can definitely see why you would think the way you think about him if you don't think highly of him.
Yeah, and I'll say one thing about him too is, you know, when we played you guys this past season, like, I was nervous as hell all week because, like, how do you defend that guy? Like,
yeah, how
do you defend him? Like, that if I'm Zimmer, that's making me lose sleep because your defense is already pretty bad.
Yep.
And we go out there and we actually play him decent.
You did,
which was surprising. So I was happy about that. And I hate losing, but it was an expected outcome for me. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to say anything bad about Lamar because I feel like he's such a good guy, leader, everything else.
Moving on to number 7, a guy that you had a couple picks ago, Matthew Stafford. Career record of 86, 95, and 1. So a losing record pretty significantly. And, I want to say he's unbelievably only a one-time Pro Bowler, but when you're not winning, it's hard to put you in the Pro Bowl. But this guy has 8 4,000-yard seasons, 1 5,000-yard season. Always had the talent, arguably been a top talent in the league since the first day he's got into the league. Similar to Derek Carr, if you're in a situation where you're not going to win any football games, we're not going to talk about you.
No.
And now, when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers in your division as well, we're definitely not going to talk about you when he's top 10 ever. Mm-hmm. So, Matt Stafford here, 7. And like I said, between him, Russ, and Lamar, 3 guys I struggle with a little bit. And people might say, this is recency bias, but I really think Stafford's been like that as far as talent goes.
Yeah.
He just hasn't been in a great situation in Detroit. So, number 7. Pafford, as some would call him, but Matt Stafford is what I'm going with.
He could be higher in my list, obviously, but I just think I got the Detroit Lions taste in my mouth still. So, and he's had a little injury history there, but he's always had that talent. I think going to the Rams just showed that he just needed to be in the right system, right environment. I mean, he's flourishing out there. But do I put him above Lamar, who I think is a lot more dynamic? No. Do I put him above Russell Wilson? No, because Russell's got that winning pedigree over him. Mm-hmm. And I have Deshaun. I mean, I could put him over Deshaun at 7, but I just think Deshaun, when he's out there, Stafford ain't seeing Deshaun with all that he can do. So
they were doing the same things with no weapons, but Deshaun just made it look different.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at with that. But I have so much respect for Matt Stafford. I think he's a great leader. I mean, to stick it out as long as he did in Detroit without a peep, bad coming from him, like it goes to show the character he has. And to get him a Super Bowl this past season, that was well deserved.
Yes, indeed. Great character, great leader, tough as shit.
Yep.
I think I seen the clip of him dislocate his shoulder and going through a touchdown pass or something to win the game.
He played injured so much, it was ridiculous.
I know. He's a warrior. Nothing but respect for that guy right there.
No.
And definitely deserving of that Super Bowl ring he got last season. Number 6, a guy you could argue is too high, but you haven't mentioned him yet, so I'm going to say he's right where he should be. At 15 and 17, career record as a starter, Justin Herbert. One-time Pro Bowler, Offensive Rookie of the Year, had the rookie record for touchdown passes at 31. Followed that up with 5,000 yards and 38 touchdown passes in his second year. The most passing yards in his first two seasons in NFL history. Now, with all that being said, you missed the playoffs last year. I think it was Week 17 against Vegas where you couldn't pull out a W. So that's a little disappointing. We expect more from this guy. I expect more from this guy. I think he's immensely talented at number 6. Only in his third year this season. This guy might tear up the league, especially with that defense this guy got now. Mm-hmm. It might get ugly.
Yep, I have him at the same spot, number 6. I'm scared to see what his ceiling is. I think there's still more.
It could be higher than Patrick's.
I mean, he's got a rocket for an arm. He's smart with the ball.
Big body,
There's
good
nothing
runner.
not to like about him. There's nothing not to like about him. And he puts his head down and goes to work. He's not out there showboating. He's not out there hooting and hollering.
Yep.
He's one of those guys that is just, let's get this work. And I'm a huge fan of him. I mean, everything you said was right on the money. Just like the stats he's put up in these first couple of years, it's just like, I knew he was going to be good, but like to come out and just like tear it up right away.
I didn't think he was going to be good. Definitely not like this.
No? You didn't think so at all?
And then the one time I really watched him was his bowl game, and I don't think he had any passing touchdowns. He ran for 2. And I was like, okay, well, you're not better than Tua.
Yeah.
But clearly you are. And there's no question about it.
And that's funny, too, how, like, one guy could go to Alabama, one could go to Oregon. Mm-hmm. 2 programs that are totally different. One's way more known and better. Mm-hmm. But and you can go through, and Tua can have a much better college career than Herbert. But Herbert's just got that NFL type to him that he's going to tear it up compared to what you're going to be able to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what some colleges do, is I think some colleges hinder a guy's capabilities.
College is for the coaches, not for the players.
Right.
So they definitely hinder guys' abilities. Let's get into the top 5. Another young boy in NFL years, maybe not in human years, maybe not in quarterback years, but at 12, 13, and 1 as a starter, he was the comeback player of the year. Last year, he had 4,600 plus yards, 34 touchdowns, and led the league with 70% completion percentage. I'm sure you have him here because the top 4 are the top 4. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals quarterback.
Yeah.
Led the team to a Super Bowl and really was within a block of winning that game, because what are the chances he misses Jamar Chase on that go route?
Yeah, I think all I can say about Joe Burrow is I just kind of have him being like the next Tom Brady, like the next coming. Like, he's going to be the guy that people look up to in the league, want to play with, and he makes everyone around him better and speaks highly of people, has good character, and to come back and go to the Super Bowl and be that close to winning it, that's a rare feat. So
there's not a lot to say. I mean,
no.
The team is young and they're led by a bad man.
And they got arguably the best receiving corps in the NFL.
That is something I wanted to touch on, but we'll probably have to do it another time.
Yep.
But they're up there in that conversation for sure. Number 4, I'm going to keep this nice and simple. Career record, 243 and 73. Top of Bay. GOAT. That's all I got to say.
I have Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, baby. Aaron Rodgers all the way at 4, huh?
Yep.
Explain.
Number 1, I'm a hater.
Please explain.
He's just not. I think he's been overtaken for the reign. I mean, I have. We'll get into the rest of them, but he's not better than Tom Brady. Number 1.
Okay.
He's not gonna, and this is gonna be basing it off this year, because he ain't gonna have the same numbers that you're used to this year, and that's a fact.
Okay. Okay.
For me, he's always leaned on one guy, whether it's Jordy Nelson, whether it's Greg Jennings, or whether it's Devontae Adams.
Mm-hmm.
That's all well and fine. He hasn't been Tom Brady where he can make everyone look good. His numbers are great. I mean, you've arguably they've.
He made Nelson and Cobb. They were a nice duo.
Yeah, but look, you've kind of played in a weak division for a long time.
You have. Chicago, as of late. Detroit
if
always.
If you're the GOAT, like I think you're saying he is.
I said Tom's the GOAT.
Okay, well, I'm saying about on the rankings, though, this year.
Okay.
If you have him higher than Tom.
Okay.
Why does he only have 1 Super Bowl ring?
That's fair. So do you have Tom number 1?
No, I have him 3.
Okay, so I can ask you the same thing.
I just think
Josh
I
Allen
consider
hasn't been there.
I consider their age, but I consider how dynamic, like.
I will say, something I forgot to say about Derek Carr is since he's gotten to the league, he has a 25th ranked defense. Tom Brady, that's not the case. Aaron Rodgers, he probably has a similar stat to that, where I know a lot of those defenses were bad, and when they did have a good top 10 defense, they did win the Super Bowl. Now, recently, they've had good defenses.
And they choke.
They choked. They played okay against Tampa, but they had a drive where they needed to score a touchdown. They took a field goal. That was the game.
And it was probably more so the coach's fault than Rodgers' fault in that game.
His numbers against San Francisco were okay, but they're not as impactful as you would have liked to see.
They got dominated, though.
They got dominated. They did. Like, big boy ball.
Yeah.
But his numbers were decent, but they weren't impactful. So.
And it showed that game clearly just outed Rodgers, though, because he looked for Devontae every single
time.
Play.
Yeah, he did.
And when he crumbled when he wasn't open. He has trust issues. Tom might have trust issues, but he's going to lean on you and make you look good.
But that's the thing with these veteran guys. You have a chance to make a play, and if you drop the ball on third down in week 4, how long does it take you to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers' trust back?
Right.
This guy doesn't.
And I know I'm gonna get so much hate for having him 4. Like, I'm ready for it, but I'm gonna get so much hate.
That's all right. That's what you feel. That's your belief.
And like I said, part of that's me being a hater.
Part of it, though, I mean, I can see your argument because the playoff success is not.
I just feel like, to the regular
season
you could argue it with Brett Favre too. Like, they've had those two quarterbacks for how many years? Damn near 30.
More than that. I guess, yeah, 30 probably, yeah.
Because Brett Favre was, what, 90?
Something like that?
Yeah. So you get, 3 decades of GOAT quarterback play.
Top 10.
And you have two Super Bowls to show for it. Belichick and Brady, 30 years, how many do you think they get?
They got another one, at least.
I mean,
the thing with New England, though, is Belichick going to bring in those weapons. Julio's not going there. AB did go there, but you're not going to get all these guys that are re-signing.
And, speaking of, Super Bowls, though, it's such a shame that Brady and Moss couldn't win one together. That's a heartbreaker. I feel bad for Moss. So he's one guy who deserved a Super Bowl before he hung it up.
To lose to Eli Manning.
With the freaking gum head.
The best Eli Manning might not be in the top 15 on my list right now.
Nah.
I mean, that's tough.
Straight up.
That's tough.
But yeah, I have Tom Brady 3, so we have those.
Okay. Well, I have Josh Allen 3, 39-21 career record. He was the most improved player. He's a one-time Pro Bowler, 6'5", 240. If I make a quarterback on Madden, that's what he looks like. He has decent speed, good speed for his size, rocket of an arm, run you over, hurdle you. He's athletic as hell, good decision maker. Has gotten better each of his first 3 seasons, but from last year his completion percentage was down from 69 to 63. His yards were down from 45-44 to 44-07, and his touchdowns were down 37 to 36. All of this while his pass attempts were up, and record was also down 13-3 to 11-6. So we do put Josh Allen on a pedestal, and we do expect this team to go far this year. But he did take a step back last year. I know you and I personally talked about Diggs. I mean, obviously, being in Minnesota, he was a former Viking, and his production was down last year. You would think that was more on him or more on Josh Allen, given the stats I just gave you? Or system?
I think it was kind of system, but also kind of Diggs. I think Diggs has peaked as a receiver.
Do you? Okay.
I think he's peaked, like, straight up. Like, he's got nothing. He's got no more ceiling there. Like, his size-wise, like, he's not the biggest,
6'1",
not the strongest, not the fastest even, but he's one of the, if not the best route runner in the NFL. I mean, they don't run the ball a whole lot, but they were giving
at all.
I think that kind of makes it known how to defend them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is so for me. I have Allen. Allen is my number 1. I just think he's. I just think he's the quarterback.
So you said, how can I put Rodgers ahead of Brady with 1 Super Bowl and Josh Allen's never been?
Because right now in today's age, you have these quarterbacks getting older. I don't think just because of who they are that they deserve those number 1 and number 2 spots. Overall in their career, they might. But you have Allen and Patrick Mahomes who are going to probably, I'm not saying Super Bowl wins against Tom Brady, but numbers-wise, I think that you have a strong chance with these 2 quarterbacks eventually surpassing those guys.
I have an interesting stat on Patrick Mahomes I'll get to in a second. Okay. Before I do that, get to my number 2, number 12. These are the State Farm boys. Aaron Rodgers, 139, 66-1 over his career as a starter, 10-time Pro Bowler, 4-time MVP, 4-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champ, as we mentioned. 3 13-win seasons in a row, a 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. You can say what you want about his attitude. You can say what you want about his personality, about his leadership. But what you can't say is he's not a bad man, and he is a bad man.
I mean,
You said your piece already.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say.
You don't need to say anything else. I do want to mention my last category from Russell Wilson to Josh Allen. Those are my elite quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem with any of those guys being elite? Russell,
No.
Lamar, Stafford?
No, not at all.
Okay. My number one guy, Patrick Mahomes, 4 times Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl MVP, 1-time champ, obviously. 4 seasons as a starter, 4 AFC Championship appearances, had a 4,800-yard, 37 touchdown season last year, I believe. People are calling that a down year. After 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, there's not really much you can do to prove more to me.
Right.
And then when you follow that up with 2 years, similar to the one I just mentioned, you're top dog in this league. I mean, really, you're 30 minutes away from 4 Super Bowls if you have a defensive lineman who doesn't jump off sides and you have a good second half against just an average second half against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So, I do have a stat I want to get to you in a second here, but I want you to say your piece on Patrick Mahomes and why you don't have him at number 1.
For me, I look at...
And where do you have him? 2?
2.
Okay.
I could have... Obviously, I could have put him number 1. For me, I'm a big, Josh Allen guy. I believe in that guy to be number 1. For Patrick Mahomes... And I think Josh Allen should have beat Patrick Mahomes last year in the playoffs.
13 seconds is... You'll never see that again. That's unbelievable. That was the best 2 minutes of a game I've ever seen
in my life.
I've never seen a game where I said this is over 3 different times.
Yeah,
it wasn't
exactly.
Over. Oh man, that's once in a lifetime right there.
And I think now, to me, bringing Josh Allen to number 1 though, my point is if he beats Pat Mahomes, I do believe they beat the Bengals.
And they beat the Rams too.
I'm not saying that. I'm not going that far. I'm just saying I think if they beat Pat Mahomes, they go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. But, I mean, just trying to put myself back in that moment. If I watched that finish, knowing that Buffalo and Cincy both had similar records, but knowing that Cincy is on the hot streak to end the season a little bit, I don't know. That'd be a tough call at the time.
Yeah.
I would probably have more faith in Cincy because they have a more well-rounded offense. But the game would have been in Buffalo, and it would have been...
Here's what I'll say,
the elements would have affected that.
Here's what I say, though. Just because I have them 1, 2, 3, 4, Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes, Allen.
Don't renege now.
No, I'm not reneging. I'm just saying, to me, those top 4 are, tied. It's hard to... I think you can order them any which way you want. But I just think, Pat Mahomes and Allen, yeah, you got Burrow and Herbert, obviously, who are going to be forces, but you're going to have Allen and Mahomes running the show for quite a while.
You are.
And like I said, I think Burrow will be that, next coming of Tom Brady, but Allen and Mahomes, those you got a ways to go to overtake them right now.
You do. And on top of everything I said about Mahomes, I just want to throw this stat out there. Right now, Brady is 243-73 as a starter. So say in his first 9 games he goes 7-2 to put you at an even 250 wins and a solid 75 losses.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes right now is 50-13. So obviously 50 times 5 will get you to the 250. So if he stays on this pace, what is this, 65 losses? So he'd be 250-65 compared to Tom's 250-75.
That's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. And given that he's been to 4 consecutive AFC Championship games, 2 Super Bowls,
I'll go down and say
that's why I have him number 1.
Mahomes is gonna go down as the first ballot Hall of Famer.
He might already be.
Yeah. I think though, if I had to put these guys up against each other right now, I'll take these 2 young bucks over Brady and Rodgers in a game this season.
I agree. And we're going to keep that short.
Yeah.
We have some company in the building now, so it was a treat. And I'll holler at you later, dog.
All right, bro.